Hello, and welcome to Gunfighter Life. As always, we come at gunfighting from a Judeo-Christian worldview and real-world first-hand experience. Before we get into the topic, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, leave a review of the podcast. We'll roll into a quick bio. If you don't know about these are short episodes on a single cartridge topic. You can look up plenty of other longer full-length episodes, and in these I give a brief, abbreviated bio. My name is Michael Melito. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I don't apologize for that. God is first and foremost in my life and everything that I do. I am a servant of God above anything else. I grew up hunting and fishing in the rural South, the southeastern United States. I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I did a couple of combat tours in Iraq. I was an urban warfare instructor and desert warfare instructor under Mojave Viper. I also served in the LAPD. I worked regular assignments and some more specialized assignments. I've also served in the United States Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. I've been blessed to be a state rifle and pistol champion a few times over. I've won more shooting competitions than I can remember, by God's grace. I've also been a private contractor for a 3-letter government agency I won't specify. FBI certified firearms instructor. I've been the commander of a tactical team, leading men in a large metropolitan area to stop active shooters. And I give all the glory to God. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. With that, guys, let's get into today's topic. What we're going to be talking about today is the 410 shotgun. And this has a special place to me. You see, the very first gun that I ever had, not that I bought with my own money, but that I ever received, was given to me by my uncle. And it was given to my other uncle to repair for me because I don't think it worked when he got it. And it was an old beat-up 410 bolt-action shotgun, Mossberg. Kind of an oddity today. Probably not worth very much. But my uncle gave it to my other uncle who restored it and gave it to me. And I did many a hunt with that gun in my hand. And then, just a few years ago, so this is almost 30 years gap in between when I got it and this, I had my nephew come out and visit me. And we were going to do some hunting together. And I had him, I said, if you're going to hunt with this gun, and it was pretty beat up. It was beat up when I got it, rusted and pitted, and the wood looked like it had been dragged behind a truck. And I had him sit there and sand it and refinish it and oil it. And I went to the store and I was like, I bought the stuff, but I said, here, pick out a color that you like. We're going to redo this wood and everything. And showed him how to re-blue some stuff and steel wool it. And we restored this shotgun. And he didn't know it at the time. I told him he was doing it so he could go out and hunt with it. But obviously after the hunt, I gave it to him. And it was his now. My uncle gave it to me, and I gave it to my nephew. And by God's grace, he'll give it to his son or his nephew, whoever he chooses. Because it's his now. He can do what he wants with it. And we went out and hunted with that gun. And that was great. I got to share those memories with him. And who knows how many memories my uncle had with that shotgun, and that I've had, and that he's going to have, and hopefully the next generation is going to have. Only God knows that. Even likely I've forgotten many of the hunts as a boy that I went on with that gun. But I still remember a few. With that old beat-up bolt-action 410 shotgun that you could likely find at a gun show, even today with the craziness, for under $100. Especially in the condition that I got it in. Maybe, $50 to $80 is more realistic. And why am I talking about this today? Well, I've been living off-grid recently. By God's grace, He supplies all my needs. And I went out in the wilderness, as I've done in the past, with a Bible and a shotgun, and by God's grace, been supplied with the opportunity for more food than I could ever eat in a day. Both foraging and hunting. And I have many shotguns. I have a really nice Benelli that who knows how many thousands of dollars I have into this really nice Benelli. It's a fantastic shotgun. I have another better shotgun, but the one that I took yesterday was a single shot break open Hatfield that I got at Walmart for $104. I mostly got it to give to other people if I take them hunting, so I'd have something to give out or loan out if somebody needed one. It's a 12 gauge. I carried that thing all around, and like I said, by God's grace, I had the opportunity to take more game than I could ever eat in a day. So why am I talking about the 410? Well, because everything I did with that, I could have done with a 410. The 410 is fantastic. From what it said on Wikipedia, it came about in the middle 1800s and was normalized, I believe, in 1874. It's been around that long and nothing has managed to replace it. Many a squirrel and rabbit and dove and quail and deer and pheasant and raccoon and possum and fox getting into the hen house. Who knows how many untold animals have been taken with the 410 shotgun. And it's great for that. And you may be thinking this is gunfighter life. Well, I would submit to you this way. You've heard my bio. I've been in a few nasty situations. I can count the number of gunfights I've been on with both hands and have fingers left over. But I can't recall the number of times in my life that I've eaten food. And to be a gunfighter, one must be able to fight. And for that, one must be alive. And to be alive, one must eat. And to put food on the table, the 410, the shotgun in general is unmatched. And the 410 really shines if you're doing things like I was doing yesterday, a journey of exploration, mostly overland exploring, in an almost 2 million acre national forest that I had never been in before. If you're putting food on the table, the 410 does it. And it does it lighter, generally, in the guns and lighter in the ammunition than a 12 gauge or a 20 gauge. And I love it for that. Like I said, I brought a 12 gauge because that's what I had. But I could have done everything I did yesterday with a 410. And I could have done it lighter with less weight, which means, theoretically, I could have covered more land in less time. And the 410 is great for that. The 410 also, in recent years, has been breathed new life in that it's been chambered in more modern things for defensive use. And it's a great defensive tool, too. One of the really cool guns it is chambered in is the Sega 410 semi-automatic shotgun, which would be a great defensive tool at close range. Recoil will be minimal. It gives you a very versatile amount of different loads. But what really made it popular is when the Taurus Judge came out. And we can argue whether that gun is viable or not, but it really gave a lot of new defensive loads to the 410 that are really cool, and you can check those out. I could talk about just loads for the 410 for an hour, and this is supposed to be a short episode, but they make some really cool buckshot load. They make some really cool stacked disc loads that are really neat for the 410. They're designed, like I said, generally for that Judge or that Smith & Wesson Governor, which are cool, but they become even more viable if you put them in a longer barrel, easier to aim, easier to use shotgun, and they're great for that. And obviously your standard number 6 shot would be my go-to, or dropping down a number 4 shot for when you don't know what you're going to put on the table, whether that's pheasants or quail or dove or things like that. And then obviously the 410 slug is great for deer. Many a deer have been taken with it. Is it optimal? Is it your best deer cartridge? Is it equal to a 30-06? No, but if you're talking about inside of 75 yards, and if your main goal is not to go deer hunting, but you may come across one and legally be able to take it and consume it, if you can't do it with a 410 inside of 75 yards, you probably couldn't do it anyway, let's be honest. They also have some pretty cool stacked buckshot loads if you're talking about even closer range. Taking deer, number 4 buck is great for all kinds of things. If you don't know if you're going hiking and you're in a country where you might run across a bear, but you might also come across a raccoon or something else like that, number 4 buck is kind of my go-to. I have taken bear with number 4 buck. I have shot bear with number 4 buck, and I have... well, let's just say they ended up on the ground. And it's pretty much coming out of the 410 the same velocity as a 12 gauge that I use. You just have less pellets. So the 410 is great for that. The 410 is great for a wilderness survival tool. It's great for an all-around gun. It's great for introducing new shooters. It's a fantastic cartridge. And if you don't know, most shotguns are measured in gauge, but the 410 kind of predates that. And it's roughly equivalent, the same size as a 45 long Colt. So a lot of guns like the Judge, like the Governor, like your single shot break opens, your Thompson centers are chambered for both, and they'll shoot a 45 long Colt or a 410 shotgun, which is really cool. So if you don't know, they're roughly about the same size as a 45 long Colt, which gives you some more flexibility. Let's talk about some really cool guns that you can get them in. Like I said, if you're listening to this and you're getting into guns, I bought the 12 gauge when I went to Walmart because I had a lot of ammo for it, and I figured I might be loaning it out to people and taking them hunting, and I have more 12 gauge ammunition than I even know about. I reloaded 12 gauge for quite a while. I have a bunch of it stockpiled. It's easy to get even now. in the ammo apocalypse. But sitting right next to it in that case when I bought it at Walmart was a Hatfield break open single shot 410, brand new for $104, I believe. That's what the 12 gauge costs. I imagine the 410 costs the same price. So for $104, you can get a brand new gun. You can also kick around a gun shop or a gun show and find, like I said, one of those old beat up Mossberg bolt action shotguns that nobody seems to love but are great in the field for probably under $100. And you can restore it if you're the kind of DIY tinkerer, do it yourself kind of person. It gives you the ability for follow-up shots, which the single shot really doesn't. And that's great. That's fantastic. And you can get into the world of guns, the world of being able to be self-sufficient and self-reliant, putting food on the table for $100, $110. You could buy one of those and a box of 6-shot and a box of slugs and pretty much be good to go for your wilderness exploration, aside from the other supplies you need, like a life straw and a compass and a good knife. So those are some cool guns that is chambered in. Also, the M6 survival rifle made for the U.S. military, which is a really cool combo gun, which gives you a 22 long rifle, I believe, or maybe even a 22 Magnum over a 410 bore. And I imagine the military did it for the same reasons, because it's great for survival, it's great for wilderness, it's great for going long distances and having a gun that can put food on the table. So that's a really cool gun that is chambered in. If you want the more Western cowboy Americana experience, Henry makes a lever action 410 shotgun. It kind of looks like the old 30-30 lever action that you think of the cowboys is using, but it's a shotgun. And that's pretty neat. Pretty cool gun. They even make it with a brass receiver if you really want to get nostalgic. Obviously, you're getting out of the economical reasons for that, but if you just want something cool and handy to go walk around the woods or throw on a horse and go backpacking, something like that, that definitely gives you a reasonable rate of fire, and it gives you the flexibility of a 410. And that's a really cool gun, too. Like we mentioned, the 410 Judge and the 410 Governor, I don't think that would be my go-to. In fact, I know it's not, because I have my go-to concealed carry guns, and it's not one of those. But I think they would be a cool, viable option if you were going backpacking and you wanted like a backup gun. Let's say you were taking a single-shot 410 and you wanted one of those for a higher rate of fire that you could load with 410, the ammunition that you were already carrying, for an up-close, defensive encounter that was better than a single shot 410. Or just, let's just face it, they're just fun if you just want to go out and shoot different loads out of a Smith & Wesson Governor or a Taurus Judge that you can probably find used at a pawn shop, because a lot of people buy them and they're beginner friendly user gun. A lot of people think they're going to be, but they can be great fun. And you can have a lot of fun with different shotgun loads. You can also load them up with less lethal. They make rubber buckshot loads if you're trying to dissuade something but you don't want to kill it. So I don't think that it replaces the 12 gauge. I have quite a few 12 gauges. I have my grandfather's old side-by-side, over 100-year-old AH Fox that by God's grace all passed down one day, that I still like to take out and go hunting with from time to time when the weather's nice. And I have that really nice Benelli 12 gauge, like I said. But I don't think that the 12 gauge is better for everything than the 410. It comes at a cost in weight, in size, in bulk of ammunition, and in the weight and bulk of the gun. And a 12 gauge may give you 500 rounds or 500 pellets of birdshot, but do you really need 500 pellets to kill a dove? So give that 410 another look. Maybe you want one, maybe you don't. Maybe you just learned a lot about the 410. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this short episode of Gunfighter Life. If you liked, please consider going to goodshepherdtraining.com. Goodshepherdtraining.com is your one-stop shop for finding out more about this podcast and the other podcasts that we do, the Alpha Male podcast and Simple Man Sermons, the preachings of a simple man called by God to share the good news of Jesus Christ. Again, go to goodshepherdtraining.com. Please consider supporting these episodes. They're free to listen to, and I like it that way. But sadly, they're not free to produce. So if you want to support this kind of content or any of the other content that we do, please consider going to Patreon. We all know what a box of ammo, even a box of 410 shells, cost nowadays. For $1, you can support this podcast. So please consider going to Patreon and signing up. If you don't want to, don't feel guilty about it. But you can support for free by sharing this with others, or for just giving us a rating, scrolling down on whatever app this is on and giving us a number of stars. and liking, subscribing, and commenting on this. With that, guys, I want to say thanks for listening and have a blessed day.